Yet 80% of businesses in the market don't exit. They just close their doors, right? If you don't have a strategic plan for growth and exiting your business, you're going to be part of that 80%.
Started from the hustle, now we playing it smart. Put the system in position, took the grind out the heart. Got a team on a vision, every role playing part. Ain't no job, it's a business, that's the real boss art. We the 2Exit Podcast.
Hello, listeners. Welcome to the Freedom to Exit. This is Josiah Wiley. You know me from our previous episodes, but I've got a great idea today. Today, Abhi, I think what I want to do is I want to introduce you, and then I'm going to flip it around and have you host my podcast. How's that sound?
That sounds wonderful. I've never done that before, so I'm really looking forward to it, Joe.
Well, today we've got Abhi here from Meridian 84, Lafayette and Oak. Very smart and very good-looking gentleman that I'm going to just kick it over to you today and have you interview me. Sound like fun? Let's do it.
That sounds great. I think one of the challenges that business owners have is understanding what it means to exit and understanding the preparation that it takes to get there. So we'll get to that. I'd like to get to that in this podcast at some point in time. We've got maybe 5 or 10 minutes before we get there. But I'd like to learn about you. I mean, I've known you for, it feels like a decade. You will say it's a decade and a half too long. But the listeners don't know you. And folks that are watching don't know you. Give us a little bit of Josiah's background. You're a very successful entrepreneur. You're a very successful business owner. And now you've gotten into helping others become as successful, if not exceed that level of success that you've had. But a little background on you would be great.
You know, it started when I was very young, all the way back when I was 12 years old and earlier. I started a lawn-mowing business with my friend who lived across town. And we grew that from just the two of us to where we were hiring our friends to then go mow lawns for us for less money than we were making off of each lawn. And I was like, this is great. I'm having so much fun with this. When I got a little bit older, I got interested in engineering, right? My father will tell you that I took apart his lawnmower just to figure out how it would work and didn't put it back together. You know how frustrating that would be when you would go to mow the lawn and you've come in and you find your lawnmower in a million pieces, right? And you know him.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, he was not a happy camper, I'm pretty sure.
So from there, I went into engineering and graduated engineering school, got out of engineering school, went to work for a large corporation where I quickly grew through the ranks and became the director of innovation and research and development for that company. Grew from there into even larger roles where I was leading a global engineering innovation team from Asia into Europe and into North America for a 24-hour-a-day innovation cycle where the United States would create a project, check it out to China. China would then check it out to India. India would then check it back to the United States. So we would have a literally 24-hour engineering development cycle going on. Can you imagine that? We even had a whole building in India that all they did was product teardowns of competitive products. Look at every part and piece, analyze everything, and then look and see how we can improve upon our own stuff. Isn't that amazing?
Wow. I mean, just the offshoring and then the onshoring of that data and that information, that
4 hours.
The logistics of that, I can only assume was a nightmare, but
right.
That was your specialty. That's what your expertise is.
Back then, yes. And from there, being so successful at that, the corporation I was at said, hey, you're really good at what you're doing. Let's move you into a business role where you're leading a whole division of our organization. So I went from there to leading sales, marketing, engineering, research and development, manufacturing, from A to Z. And became part of the team that was looking at change management, integration of new business initiatives corporately, looking at buying new businesses, looking at integrating those businesses into the corporation. And from there, a customer of mine said, hey, we'd love it if you'd move to Atlanta and start a new division of our business. Flew to Atlanta, started a new division of that company, grew it to well into double-digit millions in sales, and then we transacted to private equity with rollover. From there, helped the new private equity firm continue with growth, and then finally exited here just this last month.
So that's a big deal.
Yes.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. So having all of that experience of, leading sales, manufacturing, engineering, IT, research and development, innovation, for a 24-hour business operation on a global scale, and then taking that to a local business here in Atlanta and growing that by large amounts of revenue. And that experience, what I have found is that in Atlanta, for example, and other places across the United States, there are business owners that have been running their business for a long time but aren't familiar with how money works, or are not familiar with what they could do to strategically grow their business just by doing some simple things. And so I got a passion for that. Like, it's very rewarding to go and sit down with a business owner and say, hey, have you thought about this? We can really grow your business here. Grow your business by 60% of value or more. Some people we've seen increase by 200% in value. And utilizing all that experience and expertise over the years to really help our communities of business owners.
Yeah, that's a big deal. Yesterday, I had the privilege of attending your inner circle of guests here at your office in Buckhead. Tell me about that. Like, what was the inspiration behind that idea? How did you come up with it? But more specifically, what's that event geared toward? Because I know also it's a monthly thing that you're doing, inviting business owners, those that are just starting their businesses, or they're looking at selling their business at some point in time. It may not be tomorrow, but it might be a year or 2 or 3 or 4 from now. But this event that you had yesterday is really cool. It's just like hodgepodge of people. I had a lot of great conversations. Now, granted, there was a couple here from Ohio, so I wasn't really a big fan of them. I'm the Michigan guy. Accidentally stepped on her foot. They probably shouldn't have.
But you literally stepped on.
I literally stepped on her foot. Yeah, I didn't realize, like, I think she meant to do that. I think she was like trying to kick me away.
A Michigan guy.
Yeah, she's like, whatever, this guy. But tell me about that. Is this going to be a monthly thing? Like, what's the inspiration? What's the objective?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a monthly meeting where we have a small group setting where we bring in some very specific business owners that we've identified to be a part of this discussion, where we communicate and talk about growth strategy, how money works, how money can work in your business to get the largest return possible. And, it's interesting because some people have said, well, I don't want to exit right now. Well, that's fine. We can still apply these principles towards growth and putting a growth strategy together, because growth in your business is going to do a lot of things. It's going to hire more people in our communities. You're going to be able to expand, your operations and continue to increase, the net profit, EBITDA. Only good things can come from more profit in a business, right?
Yeah, and there are a lot of business owners too that might step into that, and they might not feel the most confident, right? They might be thinking, well, you just mentioned a lot of things, right? We have to focus on sales and EBITDA and the growth of our business and the operations and making sure we're super efficient. That seems like a really big elephant to take down. But I guess what they say is, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? Right?
That's right.
And that's why I appreciate about what you're doing at Exit Factor. You're taking this entire really complicated process of succession planning, of exiting a business, of what do I have to do so that the valuation when I exit is at its highest point. It's not like real estate. It's very different. Can you explain like the couple of core fundamental beliefs that you have with Exit Factor and what you're looking to do for businesses between, say, them wanting to sell from a year to 2 to 3 to 4? Like, what does that pathway look like?
We have a 5-stage process where we look at a business's value.
Okay.
We look at a phase of optimization, transformation, positioning the business for the best position possible. And that stage includes execution, which is my favorite part, like actually putting your hands into action, right? Regarding that phase, I think it's also really interesting because throughout my corporate experience, there would always be a room full of people in suits, right? And what I found is that they all talk about these great ideas, right? But who's going to do it? Right? And you alluded to that yesterday at the event. Like, who's going to actually put in and do the actual hard work to pull this stuff off, right?
That's right.
And that's actually my favorite aspect. And so putting a strategic plan together and putting a growth strategy in place, and then helping that business owner go then execute on that plan is really important to me, because that's where you obtain that actual growth, by going through and executing on those transformations, executing on that growth strategy plan, right? And putting, rubber to the road, if you will.
Yeah. What do these business owners feel? Like when they first have a conversation with you, where are they? What's their headspace? What's the mentality? What's the mindset? Are they excited about the future? Are they overwhelmed about the future? Are they sad? Are they angry? Are they like, help me understand, help me get there?
There's actually like three. It's very interesting because it changes by age group.
Okay.
The baby boomer generation right now, what I'm hearing from them is a lot of them are tired.
Okay.
They're ready to retire and they want to exit their business and they want to sell. And I'm hearing the word tired a lot. Hey man, I've been doing this for 35 years.
Yay.
And I'm tired and I'm ready to retire, but I don't know how. I don't know how to sell this. I don't know where to go, who to talk to, how to pull it off, right? And that's where Exit Factor can really step in and help out by putting that plan together, putting that exit strategy together on how to exit.
Yeah.
For not just a 3 times multiplier, which is, typically where you would see a business, but higher than that by a good amount.
So you bring up the concept of a multiplier. What is that?
So when you're putting a valuation on a business to sell, right, what puts that value? Where does that value come from? That value comes from basically your net profit. It's your seller discretionary earnings, or your EBITDA, earnings before depreciation and taxes, right? So whatever that bottom line profit number is, you multiply that times a multiple that puts a value on your business. And typically, if you don't go through an exit planning process or, execute to prepare your business for a sale, you'll exit with a lot lower of a multiplier than if you put that strategic plan together and execute on that. Where you can see multiples as high as 5, 6, 8 times or higher.
Okay. Would you eat a bowl of spiders for $1 million?
Would I eat a bowl of sweaters for $1 million?
Spiders.
Spiders?
Yeah.
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 Wouldn't anybody do that?
What do you like? Are you like a boxer briefs guy or like whitey tighties? I'm still whitey tighties all the way.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of funny because it depends on the day. I've got a variety. Well, where's this question coming from?
No, it's just for some good B-roll.
That you could eat.
No, really. When I think about the multiplier and when I think about the multiple, the reason that's important is, when buyers look at buying a business, they'll do so on SDE or EBITDA. Mm-hmm. And if the multiple they're paying on SDE or EBITDA is 3 times, typically then I'm going to make my money back in a 3-year period, whatever that multiple is. Mm-hmm. And for different industries, that multiple can be very different. And you're right in that. And what I found is, if we're not preparing our business for exit, the multiple is dramatically affected.
Correct.
Right. So if I've got a business that's doing $500,000 in EBITDA, right, earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization, a non-GAAP accounting term, but let's just call it EBITDA or SDE, seller discretionary earnings. It's $500,000. If I'm not preparing my business appropriately, I'm not going to sell at a 3.5, 4, 5 times EBITDA. I'm probably going to sell for what? I mean, like a 2 times, maybe a 1.5 times.
Yes. It'll be 2 times if you're lucky.
If you're lucky.
Right.
So the potential upside that I have, if I'm structuring my business now appropriately, is pretty wicked. Like the differential is 5 times $500,000 versus 2 times $500,000. That's $1.5 million difference. Mm-hmm. Either I'm selling my business for $1 million or I'm going to sell my business for $2.5 million.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
It's worth it. Whether it's exit factor, whether it's internal discussion, whether it's, hey, let's get the family around and talk about what does exit mean later? What does succession planning mean later? Doing that now matters. You don't want to wake up when you're 75 years old and then have this discussion.
I love the fact that you brought up succession planning, because one of the most common things that I see today with business owners I'm talking to that want to exit tomorrow is they've done no succession planning at all. And they run the entire business operation. Now, let me ask you, as a buyer, if you're going to go and buy a company, are you going to buy a company that's solely dependent on that one individual to run the operation? What happens when they leave?
That is a hard pass,
right?
Yeah.
Hard pass for anybody.
Yeah. Well, and then what also happens when they die?
Correct.
Right? You're 78 years old, and if you croak the next day, I'm screwed. Right? I have zero interest in that. And if you don't do the right succession planning and legacy planning and the duplication of your effort, whether it's using a little bit of technology or AI, as a buyer, I'm going to ask you to stay in the business for 5 years.
Minimum.
Right.
Minimum, because you're going to need to transfer all of that knowledge to somebody else within the business.
That's right. And I'm not paying a 5 times or 5.5 times or 6 times for your service.
You're not. You're paying a 2 or 3 times.
Right. And people will get frustrated. They'll likely say, we have a lot of emotional attachment to the business. Why is my business not valued at like 10 or 20 or $30 million? Well, hey, genius, it's because you don't have Josiah on your team helping guide the discussion about valuation and what it truly means to exit.
That's correct. And going through that process, putting that strategy together to obtain a higher valuation, to get the value that you really want out of your business.
Yeah. So still, no whitey tighties on a Friday.
No,
I'm thinking about this. I'm like, maybe I should go back to like the Hanes. I was like, I'm a free.
See, the thing is, they're not white. You see what I'm saying? Like they have different colors these days.
Oh yeah, no, I don't want that.
Like gray and black, and purple.
You got me on a good day. Like I rarely shower. I just turn everything inside out.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's the whole new fresh start. All right. What else would you like to cover?
Well, you're the host, remember? So you're interviewing me.
I know. It's been a while since I've done this. I used to run nationally syndicated radio for almost 10 years on Wall Street, and I could talk to the wall for like an hour and a half, and I'm struggling to distinguish between whitey tighties and boxer briefs. Okay, so when it comes to exiting well, so we've talked about how people feel. We've talked about how people feel going through this process. What happens when they come out on the back end of this, on the outside of this, looking in, and they're thinking, well, was this a good decision for me? Or was it too overwhelming to make a decision that I know that I needed to make? But having trusted Josiah and the team, this is what the expected result should be. If you could talk to that.
It's interesting because a lot of people think once I sell my business, I'm done. It stops there. But actually what I have found is that once you sell the business, people are like, now what do I do with this money? How do I manage it? How do I position this money so they pay the lowest amount of taxes possible? Because a lot of times the money that you're going to pull out is more in your checking account than you've ever had, right? Because your value, your assets have been tied up in this business all this time.
Right.
And you finally got to a point where you're going to pull your money out, and then you sell your business, and then people think, oh, I'm done. I don't have to worry about the business anymore. I got my money, I can go off and retire.
Right.
There also needs to be a strategic plan once you sell the business of how are you probably going to manage that money so that you're paying the lowest amount of taxes possible and that you don't run out of it too fast.
So you shouldn't just hide it in the Caribbean somewhere?
You should not hide it in the Caribbean somewhere. That's the quickest way to get in a lot of trouble.
Yeah. How about just buying like a bunch of Christian Louboutin red bottom shoes?
That sounds perfect.
I think
it's a good investment.
I think it's great. Definitely not the whitey tighties.
Absolutely not. That's actually a poor investment there.
Fair enough. So you also have transactage. Can you talk a little bit about transactage? So you've got the exit signature planning, succession planning, legacy planning. We're going to prep the business for sale in a year or 2 or 3. What's transactage, and how does that fall? How does that play into this ecosystem you're building?
It's really interesting. Being on the exit planning, exit strategy side of working with business owners, after working with each one of them individually on plans to execute and going out and executing and getting the high value and building up that level of trust, what we learned is that we don't want to just now say, hey, go work with somebody else you don't know. to sell your business, why don't we continue our momentum and position your business to find that buyer? And that's where Transactage came into the picture. We will work with business owners to put together a strategic exit plan, execute on that strategic plan, and then help sell the business to the next buyer.
Got it. Now I get the lawnmower analogy. Like, this is just who you are as a person, right? You've taken this lawnmower, and now instead of the actual lawnmower that you're taking apart, you're really pulling apart the pieces of people's businesses to highlight areas where it's not working or areas that need improvement. And if they do these 1 or 2 or 3 things, they will see an improved lawnmower, or they'll see an improved business, metaphorically speaking. Yeah, funny enough, I had you and I are really similar. I did not know the lawnmower story. I did the same thing with my dad's computer. It was like a Dell, I don't know, 200 megahertz computer, and it had a CD-ROM drive and a 3.5-inch floppy, right? And I pulled it all apart, and I just left it there, and he lost his mind, and he's like, "You're going to put this back, and it's going to be working before the end of the day." And my friend Matthew Carroll, if you're watching, Matthew, shout out to you, man. But he and I toiled like all night, and we had it up and running by 9 a.m. the following day. And in that moment, we realized, wait a minute, this is really cool. If we could do this for my dad's computer that I screwed up, don't other people have this problem? So we created a company called Max Technologies. This was in high school.
That's fascinating.
Yeah. And it was Matt, Abhi, X Factor. That's hence the word Max Technologies. And we were like this neighborhood computer software repair company. We were billing out at $50 to $60 an hour, billing 300 to 400 hours a week. And our marketing strategy, take a wild guess.
Word of mouth.
Well, eventually it was. It was putting flyers in people's mailboxes.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
But I also realized that's like a federal offense. You can't do that.
Well, yeah. Well, I wasn't paying taxes on my lawnmower business either. So.
Well, fair enough. And then I still had no idea like what I should do. Like, I didn't understand what taxes were. My dad was like, "Why am I getting these calls from random people?"
Now, to clarify, I was 12 years old.
Yeah. Yes. So right. For those listening, I was also 12 years old. I think something like that. Maybe 13. I don't know. I wasn't as young as you when I was doing this. And then that led me to my electrical engineering tenure at Michigan. And so that's just insane how it all works.
Isn't that interesting? I love the fact that you've put that analogy together, because that's very true. Just like when you're pulling the computer apart and finding out how that all works. I did the same thing to my dad's cassette player. I did the same thing to all these different things he had around the house. He's constantly finding them all taken apart. One time, I took apart his cassette player and put it back together on a plank of wood without the plastic casings, just so I could see the pulleys and the rubber bands moving, and you actually had to use it from that way from now on, basically.
Yeah,
But that being stated, it's very similar to analyzing a business, right? Diving in and looking at 72 different aspects of a business operation. And when you think of a business operation, you're probably thinking about, what's my revenue? What's my cost? What's my profit? Right? That's 3 things, right? And then, there's things that go into the mix of that, right? Well, what we look at is 72 different things as part of that business. So that's really pulling that lawnmower apart, pulling that computer apart, finding those parts and pieces that can be upgraded, putting a larger CPU with more RAM into your computer, right, to make it go faster. Kind of taking like the home improvement approach, without the explosions.
I think since this is a new podcast, I think you just found like the little subtitle tagline for your podcast.
There you go.
Yeah, the home improvement approach.
I don't even know if I can say that.
I don't know if you can either. That's okay. We're a Home Depot state, so you can't get in too much trouble.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, no, this has been fun. I appreciate you having me on. As I think we're flipping the script on how podcasts are generally run, because you're the host and I'm not. But this has been great. If there's one key, let's land it for people. If there's one key takeaway that listeners and the audience should have as a result of this conversation, what would you want that takeaway to be?
Yeah, 80% of businesses in the market don't exit. They just close their doors, right? If you don't have a strategic plan for growth and exiting your business, you're going to be part of that 80%. So the way I'd like to leave this is don't be part of that 80%. Be part of the exclusive club of the 20% of businesses that are out there that find a successful way to exit and sell their business and take money home.
Ain't no job, it's a business, that's the real boss art. We the 2Exit Podcast.